Welcome to the channel. Have you ever trusted someone completely, only to realize, much later, that the truth was hidden in a single moment you didn't notice? One glance, one pause, one strange smile. What if everything you needed to know was already there? Have you ever looked at someone and felt like they were screaming on the inside yet said nothing at all? Like their smile was carefully stitched over pain, like their silence held a story too heavy to tell. You sat across from them. They laughed, they nodded, they looked fine, but deep down, something inside you whispered, "This isn't real." You didn't have proof. You just knew. That's not imagination. That's observation. And if you've ever felt this quiet knowing, then you're already standing at the edge of a gift, one that most people ignore for their entire lives. Before we dive in, if you're the kind of person who values emotional intelligence, growth, and learning through stories, consider subscribing to the channel. It's a small click for you, but a big motivation for us to keep going. Let's begin. Jessica walked into a small coffee shop in Seattle on a rainy Wednesday morning. She wasn't in a rush. No headphones, no phone in her hand. Just her, the rain, and the people around her. While most customers ordered, paid, and moved on without making eye contact, Jessica lingered. She noticed the barista's voice change when someone mentioned family. She saw the momentary freeze in his smile, a pause, a flicker, and then he smiled again, just a little too wide. Most people would have missed it, but not Jessica, because Jessica wasn't just looking, she was present. We've been taught to see with our eyes. But true observation doesn't start there. It starts with the mind, with being still enough, quiet enough, and open enough to let the world reveal what it usually hides. Presence is rare today. People rush through rooms, through conversations, through entire relationships, always half somewhere else. But when you're truly present, you become something different. You see more, feel more, understand more, and the world responds to you in ways it never did before. Observation isn't about being clever or reading minds. It's about noticing what others have been taught to ignore. The way someone talks faster when they're anxious. The way a confident person's eyes flick downward when they feel shame. The way someone suddenly crosses their arms when a name is mentioned. These moments are quiet, invisible to most. But they are loud to someone who is present. People are not just what they say. They are their pauses, their glances, their fidgeting hands, their unspoken tension. Most people walk around like closed books, hoping no one reads them. But when you're present, you don't need to open the book. You start to feel the story through the cover. And here's the truth. Presence is not passive. It's powerful. In a world filled with noise, distraction, and superficial smiles, the one who slows down, pays attention, and truly sees, becomes unforgettable. So if you've ever felt invisible, like people just talk at you instead of seeing you, maybe it's because the world forgot how to observe. But you can be different. You can be the one who listens with their whole body, who walks into a room and feels what no one is saying, who watches with kindness, not judgment, with curiosity, not assumption. Because when you are truly present, you don't need to ask all the questions. The answers begin to appear quietly, honestly, and always on time. There's a moment I still remember, not because of what was said, but because of what wasn't. It was a late summer evening in Chicago. The kind where the breeze is warm, but the sky already hints at fall. Welcome to the channel. Have you ever trusted someone completely, only to realize, much later, that the truth was hidden in a single moment you didn't notice? One glance, one pause, one strange smile. What if everything you needed to know was already there? Have you ever looked at someone and felt like they were screaming on the inside yet said nothing at all? Like their smile was carefully stitched over pain, like their silence held a story too heavy to tell. You sat across from them. They laughed, they nodded, they looked fine, but deep down, something inside you whispered, "This isn't real." You didn't have proof. You just knew. That's not imagination. That's observation. And if you've ever felt this quiet knowing, then you're already standing at the edge of a gift, one that most people ignore for their entire lives. Before we dive in, if you're the kind of person who values emotional intelligence, growth, and learning through stories, consider subscribing to the channel. It's a small click for you, but a big motivation for us to keep going. Let's begin. Jessica walked into a small coffee shop in Seattle on a rainy Wednesday morning. She wasn't in a rush. No headphones, no phone in her hand. Just her, the rain, and the people around her. While most customers ordered, paid, and moved on without making eye contact, Jessica lingered. She noticed the barista's voice change when someone mentioned family. She saw the momentary freeze in his smile, a pause, a flicker, and then he smiled again, just a little too wide. Most people would have missed it, but not Jessica, because Jessica wasn't just looking, she was present. We've been taught to see with our eyes, but true observation doesn't start there. It starts with the mind, with being still enough, quiet enough, and open enough to let the world reveal what it usually hides. Presence is rare today. People rush through rooms, through conversations, through entire relationships, always half somewhere else. But when you're truly present, you become something different. You see more, feel more. It's easy to overlook this kind of listening because it looks like you're doing nothing. But in truth, you're building a bridge that didn't exist before. You're telling someone, you matter. Your pain has space here. I'm not rushing you to be okay. When you listen like that, people soften, their defenses drop. They speak truths they didn't even know they were carrying, and not because you pulled it out of them, but because you stayed. So, if you want to observe people deeply, don't just watch their hands or study their posture. Watch their silence. Observe their rhythm. Offer them presence, not pressure. Become the kind of listener who doesn't fill the quiet, but honors it. Because inside that stillness is the sound of trust being born. And once someone feels heard, not just in what they say, but in who they are, they start to show you everything. It was supposed to be a small gathering, just 5 of us from work, sitting around a dimly lit table at a Mexican place downtown. The kind of night where the guac is too expensive, the music is just loud enough to make you lean in, and everyone pretends they're more relaxed than they actually are. Somewhere between appetizers and second drinks, Rachel, normally the composed one, the calm strategist in meetings, was asked a simple question by our manager. "How are things with your dad these days?" There was a beat of silence. Then she smiled too quickly. "Oh, you know," she said, waving her hand. Same old, same old." But in that brief pause just before her smile clicked into place, I saw it. Her left hand gripped the stem of her glass tighter. Her posture shifted inward, protective. Her eyes didn't meet ours. They dropped to the napkin, the candle, anywhere but the person asking. It lasted maybe 2 seconds, but it was real. Reactions like that, unplanned, unguarded, involuntary, are where the truth lives. And if you blink, you miss it. Most people do. We're trained to pay attention to what people do, what they say, the decisions they make, the way they perform under pressure. But behavior can be crafted, words can be polished, actions can be rehearsed. It's the reaction, not the action, that gives someone away. And reactions, by nature, don't ask permission. They slip out between sentences. They appear in a laugh that's too high, in a breath held just a little too long, in the sudden stiffness of a body that was relaxed just seconds ago. The truth is, we are most ourselves not when we speak, but when we flinch. Have you ever told someone, "I'm proud of you," and their face softened like no one had ever said it to them before? Have you ever mentioned a name in passing and watched someone's entire mood change, though they tried to hide it? That moment, the first 5 seconds of discomfort, joy, fear, or even guilt, is the rawest part of them, and it's honest. But to see it, you have to be present and still. You have to stop trying to move the conversation forward, stop rushing to fix, explain, or jump in with your story. You have to let the reaction land. I've learned more about people in those fragile flashes than I have in entire hours of deep conversation, because those reactions aren't curated. They're not filtered. They are the part of a person that hasn't been trained to lie yet. And sometimes, those little tells, the pause, the twitch, the avoidance, are not for us to point out. They're not invitations to interrogate or analyze. They are simply reminders that every person is carrying something under the surface, something they're trying to manage while still showing up, still functioning, still smiling. So, if you truly want to observe someone, learn to sit in those moments. Watch what stirs when a truth is touched, and then don't press, don't ask for more, just be there. Let the reaction be what it is, a small truth escaping a careful disguise, because what someone does may tell you who they want to be. But how they react, that shows you who they really are. It was a cold Thursday in December, the kind where the air cuts through your coat and your breath hangs just a little longer in front of you. I was sitting in the passenger seat of my friend Ethan's car, waiting in the drive-through line at a coffee shop on the edge of town. We'd both had long days. His face was quiet, tired, but the kind of tired that doesn't ask for rest, just distance. When we pulled up to the window, the young barista leaned out with a smile that cracked through the winter gloom. "Hi there, sorry for the wait," she said, handing over the drinks. She looked maybe 19, cheeks red from the cold, hands trembling slightly from the rush. Ethan didn't even glance at her. He took the drinks, didn't say a word, didn't nod, didn't smile, just rolled up the window, muttered, "Finally," and pulled forward. That moment stuck with me, not because it was dramatic, but because it wasn't. It was the kind of moment most people would ignore. A small act of dismissal. A missed chance to recognize someone who showed up for him with kindness. Ethan's silence wasn't just about being tired. It was a pattern I'd started to notice. The way he talked to servers without looking up. The way he interrupted the janitor at work, who was just trying to ask a question. The way he acted polite when it mattered but invisible when it didn't. And it made me realize something. The clearest picture of someone's character isn't how they treat their friends, or their boss, or people they're trying to impress. It's how they treat the people they believe don't matter. It's easy to be kind when there's something to gain. It's easy to say thank you when someone's watching. It's easy to act like a good person when the lights are on and the room is full. But the truth doesn't show up in the spotlight. It shows up in the shadows, those small, quiet moments when no one is clapping, when there's no reward, when the person in front of you has nothing to offer you but their presence. I've seen people speak with grace to a CEO and bark at a receptionist in the same hour. I've watched someone flirt charmingly with their date and then snap at the waiter for forgetting a lemon. And every time, it tells me everything I need to know. Kindness that only exists when it's convenient isn't kindness, it's performance. You don't need to be loud to observe this. You don't have to confront or correct or make a scene. Just watch, listen, feel. Let time reveal what words try to hide. Because the way someone speaks to a stranger they'll never see again, the way they look or don't look at the person cleaning their table, the way they say thank you without needing to, that's who they are when the mask is off. That's the version you can trust or walk away from. And maybe the deeper truth is this. The way we treat people who can do nothing for us shows whether we understand what it means to be human. Whether we still carry softness in a world that constantly asks us to harden. Whether we see dignity, not in titles, not in clothes, not in power, but in people, just as they are. So, if you want to know someone's heart, don't just listen to their stories. Watch their smallest moments. Watch what they do when they don't need to do anything at all. That's where the truth waits in the ordinary, hidden, honest, and always there for those who know how to see it. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon in a quiet co-working space on the west side of town. I was meeting with Clara, a woman in her early 40s who had recently joined our nonprofit team. She was warm, competent, and carried herself like someone who'd been through things she didn't talk about. That day, we were reviewing a few community proposals when one of the names on the list caught her eye, Marcus D., a man who used to run a shelter downtown. The moment she saw it, her hand stopped mid-note. Her posture didn't change much, but something behind her eyes did. I asked, gently, "You okay?" She paused for just a second too long, then nodded. "Yeah," she said quickly. "It's nothing." But it wasn't nothing. Her voice lost its usual tone. Her words became fewer. She blinked more than usual. The smile she wore didn't quite reach her cheeks. And though she said she was fine, everything in her body was saying something else. So I waited. I didn't ask again. I gave a slow nod, 1, 2, 3, and let the silence hold us both for a moment. And in that space, without pressure, something shifted. She leaned back in her chair and exhaled the kind of breath that's been held in for years. "He was the first person who ever made me feel invisible on purpose," she said. "And I didn't even realize how much of that I still carry." I didn't say much. I didn't need to. I just echoed softly, "Still carry." That was all it took. Her eyes welled up not because of what I said, but because I heard her, and she felt it. That moment changed something in me. It taught me that sometimes the truth doesn't show up in a story, or a confession, or even in words. Sometimes it shows up in how someone reacts when the past walks back into the room, wearing a familiar name. We often think observation is about watching people act. But the truth is, If you really want to know someone, don't just look at what they do. Look at what moves them. Look at what startles them. What quiets them. What wakes something inside them they didn't plan to show. Reactions are not edited. They come out before the person can protect themselves, before the filter, before the smile, before the mind has a chance to rewrite the truth. That's what makes them sacred. I've learned to watch the way someone responds to challenge, to compliments, to being misunderstood. I've learned to notice the silence after a hard question, the sigh after a forced laugh, the story that keeps changing slightly every time it's told. Not to judge, not to trap, but to understand. Because people don't always mean what they say, but they always feel what they react to. And if you want to observe someone, not just see them, but feel them, then watch what they protect, what they flinch at, what they avoid, and what they return to when no one's watching. Reactions are windows, not into someone's behavior, but into their history, their fears, their tenderness, the things they still haven't said out loud. And when you observe with stillness, when you listen with more than just your ears, you begin to see it. You begin to sense the story under the sentence, the memory under the moment, the truth behind the tone. You don't need to press. You don't need to fix. You just need to be there long enough for their reaction to trust you, for the mask to loosen, for the story to rise. Because underneath every reaction is something that matters. And if you're quiet enough, patient enough, present enough, it'll tell you everything. The deepest truths often live in the quietest moments. A glance, a silence, a sudden shift. These are the parts of people we miss when we only listen to words. But if you learn to slow down, to truly observe without judgment, you'll start to see the invisible. You'll understand others more deeply, and yourself more honestly. This isn't just about reading people. It's about building connection, empathy, and wisdom in a world that desperately needs all three. If this story made you think, feel, or see the world a little differently, consider subscribing to the channel. Your support helps us keep creating content that speaks to the heart. And trust me, what's coming next, you won't want to miss.